now. You guys are early. Have you two always been the early guys to every band rehearsal?
No, I have to apologize for. I hope we didn't mess your day up. Because I'm Matt and this is Greg, by the way.
Of course.
I'm the more important of the two.
I love it.
But it was so weird. I was looking at the thing, and we had always planned on it being 2 o'clock because I remember the first email said 2 p.m. PST, right? So, and then for some reason I'm sitting around today and I go, I'm going to look at that, and it said 11. Man, I almost freaked out. So I hope we didn't cause you any trouble.
For the Bissonettes, the number of years I've been listening to your music, I don't care. It's just worth it.
Darren, thank you.
God bless you.
I mean, hey, the DLR band stuff that you did, Greg, the Pat Boone in a Metal Mood album.
Darren, you're killing me. You know that. Awesome.
Not only do I love it, but when I interviewed Pat the last time, like 2 years ago, he was specifically talking about you, Greg, so he remembers that.
Well, we bonded because I mentioned that Matt and I both went to North Texas State in Denton, and he said, I know you did, and I went there in 1959. I said, that's the year I was born. Darren, where are you from?
Long Island, New York. The sun is setting. That's why we get this weird light thing here on the beach. Long Beach, New York, Long Island, 15 minutes where you both have played a ton of times, Jones Beach.
Oh,
Jones
yeah.
Beach is great.
I love that. You got a Pac-Man machine.
I got a Pac-Man machine. You know, they're cheaper than you think they are.
That's I always like that's the Miss Pac-Man, right?
Exactly. It's got 2,000 games on it. It's just a shell of Pac-Man, but
I love it. How cool is that?
Dreams come true. And Matt, because I haven't asked you a question, you know, how did it feel to kill Osama bin Laden all those years ago?
I know, huh?
You know,
that.
when I first got the gig with Elton, the road manager called me and go, we got to do something about this because it had just come out. And I guess the guy's name is Mark Owens or something like that. And then so I have to go under a different name at all the hotels. And so yeah, it was that kind of hit home. There's a bunch of Matt Bissonettes that talk, and we always kind of say, hey man, sorry we were in hiding. So
exactly.
It's kind of not, you know.
Are you a musician as well?
I'm a musician, not Bissonette level musician, but there's some
play?
Guitar, bass. My wife's the classical musician.
Nice.
Wow.
You have kids?
No kids that I know of.
How old are you, Darren?
38 years old.
So you didn't get to see any of the David Lee Roth tours or any of the Satriani stuff that we did, or any, because there were Long Island guys buying Satriani.
Exactly. I did not get to see it. The 6-7 times I've seen David Lee Roth live, neither of you have been in the band, unfortunately, but I do own Sonrisa Salvaje, the Spanish.
You'd have been smiling Spanish.
Wow.
Vuelto loco el calor. Tímido, 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 timid and shy.
Wow.
And the wife and I flew out to see Dave's Vegas residency. She was going, you gotta go. And I'm like, no, he'll be back. Well, it's a good thing that we did go. But, you know, bring the focus on you guys here. The Reddcoats. Wow. That's a great new single that you got. It starts off with like lowrider kind of vibes, and then it becomes its own thing. Are you comfortable with you guys being thought of as an all-star band?
Well, he's actually in an all-star band, so it's kind of weird because we've always played music together since we were born, and we love the Beatles, and we used to have our Beatle guitars out when we were kids and doing all that stuff, and we've just done so much over the years together that we had a band called the Mustard Seeds for a while that we did, and we've always wanted to write our own stuff and do our stuff because we played in a lot of bands together with other people's stuff. So we've kind of had this bucket list thing of going, before we leave this earth, we'd like to do something that we can just play the things that we like to play, because we do a lot of sessions with different people, and we're proud of that, and we love doing it, and we love playing in other guys' band, but we always kind of wanted to do something ourselves. So we kind of it started out, Greg and I talking about eventually doing something down the road. And then I was in Dallas one day with Elton I'm dropping Elton's name a lot today.
You just dropped the name, man. Elton John.
Sorry.
I'm picking up what you're dropping.
Okay, cool. And I had a couple of days off, and my friend Billy White, who's a guitar player from Dallas, took me to this club to see this band. A couple friends of ours were playing because we both went to school in North Texas.
Right.
And there's a guitar player named Andy Timmons, and I saw him, and I was just freaking out, just going, wow, this guy, I can't take my eyes off of what he's doing. Even when he's not playing, I'm sitting there going, it seemed like a really cool guy. So I just kind of walked up and met him and said, we're going to do something together sometime. So I never really had this master plan of it rolling into this thing, but I sent him a song of some other thing I was doing, and he played on it. And then I wrote the first song, Don't Shoot Me, I'm the Messenger.
Was that the first one?
That was the first one we did. And I remember Gregg came over to the house, and before I moved, it was the last song that you played on at my studio before we moved. And so we did the drum tracks and then sent it to Wally Minko, the keyboard player who was living in Cleveland at the time. He lives in LA and Cleveland. He put his keyboard parts on. I did the vocals at home. And then Andy put the guitars on. And then we mixed it with my friend Mike Medina, who's the percussionist. And he also mixes everything and plays everything. Kind of mixed it and went, this is pretty cool. You know, we should do another song, you know. And then we did another song. And by the time we know it, it's 8 songs in. And then we go, we got to put this out and do this, you know. And so I don't know about the word all-star band, but it sure is a band of a bunch of really cool guys.
I agree. It's a band of a bunch of my favorite musicians. My favorite musician of all time, and my best pal, my brother, you know, wrote every song, played bass, my favorite bass player and singer. We're such Beatles freaks. We used to sit when we were kids, stand in the kitchen by the stereo and play the Help album, and, you know, fake like we're playing guitar and singing every word. So he and I were both weaned on the Beatles, and we went and saw the Beatles. Our dad got tickets, and we saw the Beatles in '66 when I was 7 and Matt was 5. And so his singing, his writing, his bass playing, his producing, it's a band, but it's Matt's, inside Matt's head, really. Well, I mean, he's so cool that even though he writes the songs, all of them, he says we all wrote them together, kind of the real cool bro way to be in a band.
Well, that's nice of you to say that, but what I've learned with this thing is that you have an idea, you know, somebody's got to have an idea to get rolling on it. And once you start sending people parts and you're not in the room, they're writing, you know, they're all creating, doing their thing. So I really think, sorry about that, I really think that everybody is equal, you know?
That's true. I never thought about that, because in these times of sending files, when you send them to Andy, you couldn't be there producing them going, hey, try this. He just played, but you had the framework, you had the lines.
Right. But the good thing is that now, when you're not in the room and you're doing something virtual like this, or even at sessions, Gregg and I used to always, when we were doing Gregg's records, like
that he produced and wrote every song for.
Of course.
Sorry, the truth.
It's kind of like when you're in the session and like Steve Vai would come and play guitar, and you'd kind of say, this is the framework of the song, and then you just go, see you later, you know, tell me when you're done, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing with this thing, is everybody really, you know, from Mike Medina coming up with these, like you said, Lowrider. I mean, that was kind of the vibe that we kind of stumbled into, that when somebody asks what it really is kind of jazz, weather report, pop, fusion, rock, whatever you want to call it. But it is based around this percussion, dirty, grimy street thing going on the whole time, which I think is kind of unique in itself. And I think it kind of holds it all together.
Well, the great thing to me about Matt's writing is a lot of fusion albums, and I've listened to a lot of fusion albums. There's just not always a song. You hear a lot of blah, 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 blah. Well, we got a lot of blah, 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 but we got songs. Every one of these is a great song, in my estimation, and a great pop song that if we were shooting for trying to sell these to Bruno Mars or whoever and get on the radio, these are great songs. But Matt chose to take different approaches. Let's just go crazy on the beginning of this song. Redcoat in the beginning. He said, how fast can you play bebop? And I went, how fast? Maybe like we played with Maynard Ferguson on a song called Bebop of Faith. He goes, can you play any faster? I go, maybe. Bop, that 3-bar phrases whipping by at the fastest I've ever played bebop, and then it goes so. The 8th note's always there as a pulse, but the cool thing is there's a song there, you know. Redcoats follow the lead. There's melody. A lot of fusion albums I love. I kind of go, it's great playing, but where's the song?
Yeah, that's kind of the thing that that we've been around jazz and different things for so long that you can really lose interest fast.
Yeah.
You know, with any band. I mean, you know, the older you get, the more you can sit through anybody, and after about a half an hour, you're pretty gassed.
Even
you
the
know?
Beatles?
Not the Beatles.
Not the
Because that's
Beatles.
all it was a half an hour. So,
Yeah.
Fair.
The whole show we saw was 20 minutes.
yeah, 6 songs at
$6
5 minutes.
though, right?
Yeah, it was overpriced.
My dad said, man, how much are these tickets? The guy said, got good news and bad news. He goes, I got you 6 tickets, but it's $36 total, $6 a piece. $36. Well, I'm clearing $50 on the gig tonight. I'll take them.
That's right. That's right.
So,
But yeah, yeah, that's the main thing is for us was like, I don't know how much you've heard the whole album or if you've heard a couple songs, whatever, but the song Gregg was talking about, Redcoat, we tried to write a song like Chicago. Are you familiar with Chicago Transit Authority?
Of course, yeah.
The first song they have is called Introduction, right?
and
And the whole song just kind of changes throughout the song, introducing different band members, different things, and stuff like that. So I didn't realize, I was thinking about this yesterday, the Redcoat song starts out really fast, but it never changes tempo through the whole song. It changes completely different feels, but it's all different interpretations of feels in the same tempo, whatever that was.
Everything's based on this. Redcoats, even 7/8 Cuban. So it's all 8-note based, whatever that tempo is.
Right.
He thought of a way so we could.
But we couldn't have done that song if he couldn't have played that thing that fast to start with, which was well, as we're playing it, we're both like our arms are falling off. Going,
Yeah.
We're going, I don't know if we can ever play this live, but
We
will.
on,
We will. We'll play
we
it halftime.
will.
But yeah, that's kind of the concept of the band. We kind of we'd like to play shows where anybody could come and see it and have something that they like. They won't just go, this is a jazz band, you know, or they just do this. It's kind of everything, you know.
We want Darren to come
Sing lead.
and sing lead to that cool Long Island by Steve Vai's house, that theater that spins around. What's that place called?
Oh, yeah, Westbury Music Fair.
Westbury
Yeah.
Music Fair. You're going to come and you're going to see us there.
I would see you guys at any venue you play. That's how much I love and respect your catalog, even if you did play on every episode of Friends, which...
Oh, you know about that
Wow. Well, hey, have you ever seen the YouTube video of the last time we did a session with Friends? I got to send it to you.
No, please do.
It's pretty funny.
I
Because
think the bottom line, no pun intended to the great song from Skyscraper that...
Oh, you know that too.
I love this guy.
That's bass solo live.
No, that's Billy's.
Well, Billy played it on the record, but you did
but
the
he had to
verse.
pull it off. So what I'm getting at is Gregg was trying to say, well, what's the fastest thing I can play live? I would have to say that the bottom line where you all have to do your shredding would have been that. Yes, I can play the bottom line, therefore I can play anything.
and then start with that song. Remember, we'd start with that song. It's kind of like, y'all warmed up very well.
Yeah, and we'd start Eat 'em and Smile with Shy Boy, you know, and we started the Redcoats with super fast bebop. So it's kind of a statement, you know, like, here we go.
Yeah, like it or not, this is what it is. And you know, not to say it's like a musical journey or whatever you want to say that, but it does kind of set the tone for everything else on the record, which I'm very proud of. I'm proud that my brother can play that fast.
I'm proud. I can too. Thank God.
I love you.
What comes next after that? Is the second song?
I don't know. You got questions. I don't want to get in your way.
Is there a third Bissonette brother? That part I never knew.
Sister Kathy. Kathy works in the entertainment industry too. She works down at AEG Live in Hollywood, and she is the biggest music fan. Her hero is Donny Osmond.
Oh man.
She lives to go see Donny Osmond, wear purple socks, Osmond Brothers, One Bad Apple, Puppy Love, Donnie and Marie in Vegas.
Yeah.
But she's very well rounded. She was at every one of our Maynard Ferguson shows, every one of our David Lee Roth shows.
She could actually sing better than any of us and do anything, but she was smart enough to get out while she could. Get out of the music business.
She got out of the music and into the business.
That is.
No,
Yeah.
she's in the music business,
Right.
but she's just, and then Matt's wife, Sharia, they met when they were playing in the band that comes up out of Space Mountain at Disneyland.
Yeah, that's right.
And all 4 of our kids played drums, and so anyway,
But no other Bissonette brother, but a great Bissonette sister.
yeah.
And did both of you start out on piano?
Neither of us did. Matt started on bass, I started on drums, and I played trumpet and he played trombone. So we got 4 on you here: trombone and bass, trumpet and drums.
It's taken until about 2 weeks ago for me. Now I'm sitting at a piano practicing scales and learning modes all over again, learning different things, because I kind of passed over that when I was younger. And then when you it's so strange when you're looking at a piano, it all makes sense, right? I mean, everything's right there on drums and bass. You kind of, you know, so it's been a new awakening for me for seeing a piano.
But having said that, Matt, one thing I got to say, we grew up playing a lot of weddings, a lot of parties. And Matt, I got a picture of you playing with Chris Nordman, and you're about 15 years old, and you're just staring at his left hand.
Yeah.
So he's learning. Not only is he learning, but he's hearing all the roots of all the chords, and really what the greatest songs of all time, the standards, the great standards, the American Songbook, you know, from Gershwin to, you know, Hello Dolly to Satin Doll, Duke Ellington. And he's looking at Chris Nordman's left hand, and he's playing these bass notes. Later on, we find out he has perfect pitch. And so he's got this ability, even with the mustard seeds. We'd be rehearsing, he'd drive from Orange County up to LA, just thinking about a song in his head. Got it. He'd get there. He'd teach the guitar players the chords. He'd teach me where the feel is. And we'd all start singing, and he'd be directing us on harmonies, and we're done with the song. And that all comes from his root approach with bass. Maybe you're getting into the modes.
He makes it sound a lot better than it is, and I thank you for that.
It's the truth. I'm not blowing smoke.
But one thing I do know about both of us is that we grew up in Detroit, you know, serious working man town, and you just earn your keep kind of thing. And Gregg started doing gigs with my dad, you know, playing drums, and my dad he'd want to take a break and not play the disco songs or the rock songs, so Gregg would jump on the drums and play, you know, and I remember my mom and dad bought me a bass, and literally 2 weeks later, I was on a gig with my dad, and he goes, "You want to make $50?" And he goes, "I got you a tuxedo." We start this, I've told the story a million times, but it really did happen. He stuck me on a gig with him playing drums and an accordion player named Harry Demersion. And I had no clue to what I was doing. Getting paid $50, which was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
And I go, Dad, what do I do? He goes, don't just use your ear. Listen to what Harry's playing. Listen to what I'm playing, and just feel what you feel. And then when I point at you, just give me a beer from the bar. And that was it. And so God help that poor accordion player guy who had to sit through 4.5, 5 hours of this guy just going, I have no clue what I'm doing. So they kind of threw us into it, you know, which was pretty amazing looking back at it.
And that $50 got you 6 Beatles tickets?
Yeah.
Well, our dad paid for that. He was playing a wedding. We weren't there. I was literally 7. Matt was 5. He was playing a wedding at the Ambassador Hotel down on Jefferson Avenue by the Detroit River. Yeah. And he came out on a break, and there was just this. The way he tells it, he said it was deafening. The girls were screaming, and he asked the guy that was like the head guy, their food and beverage manager, or whatever, "What's going on?" He goes, "The Beatles are staying upstairs. They're playing tomorrow night at Olympia Hockey Arena in Detroit." My dad said, "Any chance of getting me close to 6 tickets?" So Matt and I, my sister was too young, and his friend Tom Trax and his daughter Karen and his son Jeff, the 6 of us could go. And he goes, "Come back after your gig's over." I don't think so. It's the Beatles. It's been sold out for 6 months. And when our dad came back in there, he said, "I got 6 tickets, but it's going to be $36 total, $6 a ticket." So kids were seeing the Beatles.
We were making $50 at being 12 years old. That went a long way.
It sure did.
And you said the magic word of Detroit. Every time I interview somebody who has Detroit roots, I ask this seriously, not facetiously. Is there a better music city in the world than Detroit? Because you think about it, punk basically originated there. Garage rock did. Motown, of course, which is its own genre. Even if you want to talk about modern day, the Insane Clown Posse, Kid Rock, Eminem, the White Stripes and all that, I can't think of any other city that gave the world all that.
You know, when Coltrane played with Elton John and Jimmy Garrison and McCoy Tyner, they only played in 2 cities ever, I think. Well, they did Live in Paris, I think, once. But in America, they would jockey between Manhattan and Detroit. Those 2, and Elton Jones, of course, was from Detroit. But yeah, great music town. We had this station that we grew up listening to. It was from Windsor, Canada. It's called CKLW, a Canadian station. But it was kind of the Motown station. And I remember as a kid, you know, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, having my radio there, CKLW, the Motor City. And they played Temptations, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, the Jackson 5, Diana Ross and the Supremes, you know, you name it. And we just got this constant barrage of singles, great songs. A lot of times we didn't even know the artists. So we both and our sister, we started collecting 45s of everybody, like Green Eyed Lady, what a great song. Who is that?
Oh, Sugarloaf.
We know Sugarloaf because we had the
Too young for that.
Tears of a Clown.
Yeah, Smokey Robinson. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so here's some other ones that we had 45s of. It's a little bit before even our time, but we were kids. Dizzy. I'm so dizzy, my head is spinning like a whirlpool that never ends. Tommy Rowe. The Beatles opened up for Tommy Rowe.
Wow.
We're old, yeah. So anyway, we got into the singles because of CKLW. Then album rock came around, and Detroit had one really big radio station when we were kids.
Riff?
WRIF, Riff.
Yeah.
How do you know about Riff being in Long Island?
When you work in the music industry, aren't you supposed to learn all the big stations and amphitheaters
Really?
and tour routings? No?
But I got to say, man, this is not because I'm trying to diss Detroit, because I love it. It's a little too cold for me. And in the summer, we get about 2 weeks of summer, and the state bird is the mosquito. I love Detroit. But LA, all my friends in Nashville, I'm moving to Nashville. Oh, Manhattan, London. LA is the the entertainment capital of the world. We couldn't have done the Friends show for 10 years if we were living in Detroit.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have gotten auditions with David Lee Roth or Elton John or Ringo or Rick Springfield or ELO or any of the bands we played with if we lived in Detroit. It's a great, great music town. But we had to get out. We had to come here where it all happens, I think.
Yeah, common theme. I mean, Jack White is not in Detroit anymore. They all go to Nashville or LA. So I don't blame you on that end. So
It's an amazing place to grow up, and an amazing place to get grounded, and amazing musicians, man. I mean, the jazz players back there, I still, to this day, some of the best I've ever heard, and the rock stuff. You know, I mean, the rock bands we had, we were copying other rock bands around the town, like Bittersweet Alley and Eastwood Park and all these bands. They were just playing Frankenstein and all these songs and blowing up the stage with the smoke bombs and stuff. I mean, it was rock.
It was a rock and roll town, man.
Yeah.
And we left when we were young, like 17, 18 years old. We'd come back for the summers and to do gigs to make money to pay for college. We didn't really experience the playing at Harpo's and all this stuff that our friends DC Drive, Adrenaline, they did. But we knew enough about it to know that Grand Funk and, Iggy Pop and all that was there. Alice Cooper.
MC5.
MC5.
Yeah. It really is the best music city, and hoping to get there in 2021. I haven't been aside from an airport layover, so.
Yeah.
I love that airport too, man, because they have the Coney Island there, the National Coney Island. Well, Detroit's changing too, man. Downtown, it's completely coming together. I didn't think it was going to happen like that, so. God bless Detroit.
So I got 3 quick questions, and then you guys are free if that's cool.
Yeah, this is a pretty short interview.
Well, I just assumed that you were busy.
We drove an hour to get here. Come on, man, talk.
We've been doing stuff, and we're doing it on Zoom and sometimes it's more headache than just.
Let's talk a little bit more in depth. This is for the Reddcoats. I got a few other things I want to say.
Oh, okay. Hey, for you guys, I got all the time in the world. But first thing that I want to know was, being that you two have been playing with some of music's top artists for 30, 35 years, something like that, is there anything really left to accomplish besides keeping on making a living?
Absolutely. Who should go first?
You go first.
I've always wanted to play with Chick Corea. Now, we have some Chick Corea-esque music in this album, on this Reddcoats album, and Wally Minko is very right up there with Chick Corea. There's a handful of keyboard players in the world that we just, Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, Wally Minko, Jeff Babco, David Garfield, Ron Pedley's another great one. We have a lot of great keyboard players that we love, but I'd love someday to do something with Chick Corea or Herbie Hancock. I'd love to do something. I was a huge Police fan. I'd love to play some of the Police songs with Sting. I've played with Andy Summers a lot. I get to do TV shows and movies. Mission Impossible 2 with Stuart Copeland. He's a buddy, and he hired me to play. He likes to be on the other side of the glass. And Sting sat in with me with Andy Summers one time. Sat in with Andy Summers when I was playing. But instead of, he goes, let's do Walking on the Moon. I'm going, great, down, ready to play. He goes, but instead of doing it the Stuart Copeland way, let's swing it. I'm going, swing it, giant steps up. I want to play my, Message in a, Walking on the Moon with Sting, like the Stuart Copeland way. But anyway, I got to work once with Paul McCartney, because he came out and played Birthday with Ringo, but I'd sure love to do some more things with Paul. Ringo's the greatest gig I've ever had, and I hope I can do it for at least, another 10 years. If Ringo's the healthiest 80-year-old I know, but it sure was fun playing some music with Paul, playing with Elton. Matt's with Elton. That's another one of my favorite artists, being a kid with my friend Bob Schmidt and listening over and over in his room to Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And Your Song, I remember hearing that on the radio. The first time Matt's been with Elton for 9 years. Billy Joel's another guy I'd love to work with. I'd love to play. I got to play on one song with the Foo Fighters, and Taylor Hawkins let me sit in on a song. It's on their one of their albums, B-side.
Which Foo Fighters song did you play on? Was that on the album where they were going to all the different cities to record?
No, it's one that All in All or All for All. There's one song called Danny Says, and the guitar player Chris
the Ramones cover.
And I played the Ramones cover. I played drums on that, but I didn't want credit, and they didn't credit me, so I'm playing drums on it. But this band that Matt and I had, the Mustard Seeds, when Soundgarden was coming out, and when Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and the whole Seattle scene was coming out, we were in LA. So it's like, well, you have a band, and the only problem is you're not from Seattle and you're not wearing plaid, So, but our sound was very much reminiscent of King's X. Now, Soundgarden used to say, we can't wait for the next King's X album to come out so we can steal some stuff. Well, we were stealing stuff all the time from Ty Tabor, Doug Pinnick, and Jerry Gaskill. One day they were driving down Santa Monica Boulevard, and they saw on the Troubadour sign the Mustard Seeds. They go, that's Gregg and Matt's band. They stopped the tour bus. They came to our show. And I remember we talked to Doug Pinnick before the show, coolest guy in the world. We said, Doug, we're going to start with this song, Mr. Green. It's really reminiscent of King's X. We hope you're not, upset. He goes, upset? We think it's great. We just hope you have more success than we did. What a humble response, right?
That's pretty amazing.
How about you? Any people you were dying to play with?
So I kind of missed the premise of the question.
Who else would you want to play with that you haven't already?
Well, it was a huge, huge compliment because most people, if they got one photo with Ringo, they would be talking about that for 25 years, let alone playing in his band for all these years. And of course, Elton and Roth gigs and all that. Is there anything that you haven't accomplished in music that you're still hoping one day might happen?
My brother loves Kansas.
I do love Kansas.
You should play bass in Kansas.
I love Kansas.
They've changed everyone except Phil. I think Phil is all that stuff in the original lineup. So
Joe Walsh or Steve Walsh or whatever his name is. He's still in the band.
I love Kansas so much because when I was a kid, that being from Detroit, it's kind of like you just do your job, right? If you're driving a bread truck, you do that job. You don't complain about it. Kansas to me is like the perfect band for that because they all just do their jobs great. Every drum fill kind of has a reason. The bass player stays out of the way. The bass player is not winky all the way. It's like the most precise thing that I can think of even when I hear it now, So for me, for that question, I don't know because we've been on the road so long. I mean, I've been thinking about it. Since this whole thing with COVID happened, this is the first time I've been home for more than a month for 20 years. I mean, I've been gone all the time. And when my son was growing up, I mean, I'd be home for periods of time. And then before that, we started with Maynard in 81. So we've been out so much that now I'm sitting at home and kind of going, well, what am I doing with my life now? And it feels really great. I remember being on the road last year going, man, I can't wait to be home. And then when you wish for something like that, and then it comes upon you, you kind of go, man, okay, well, now what? And for me, the biggest thing is us men were born for a purpose. We have to have a purpose. It's like everybody I know that retires, no matter if they hate their job, they work this job for 50 years and they hate it, then they retire, then they go and play golf. 2 years later, they die.
To retire is to expire.
Yeah, like this guy I buy a million cars from over the years. He just retired 2 years ago. He's back there because he misses it. He misses selling cars, So for me, anything that gives me purpose in my soul, that makes me feel like I'm doing something for my family or for my friends or for, writing millions of songs maybe that people will never hear. It doesn't matter. It's just creating things. And for me, I just love writing songs and producing songs and stuff. So I don't know of anybody I could say that I would just go, man, I would love to do. I mean, I love Bryan Adams' voice.
Bryan Adams, you came really close to a Bryan Adams gig. That would be a tour for you. Bryan Adams ended up playing bass on the tour.
But that's the funny thing, though, about our dynamic growing up in Detroit. Our dad and mom were super supportive of us, wanting us to just do music, right? And when he got the gig with Roth, I had a band called A440, and we came out on the same label that Bon Jovi's Slippery Than Wet came out. The same weekend, our records opened up. So, we weren't hanging much after that because Bon Jovi took over the world. But I remember.
Now, let me ask you, in France, would Bon Jovi be good Jovi?
I see what you did there.
Would be. No,
do the freeze thing where we go.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't really finish.
So I remember back in Detroit, he got the gig with Dave, and I remember it was at Christmas time, and our band, A440, was just about to break up because this thing was happening. And my dad organized a Gregg Bissonette autograph session at our house in the middle of winter, right? Because my dad loved us so much that he was so proud of us. And I remember this line of people that would never give us the time of the day growing up were in line getting Bro's signature. And I remember my dad going, hey, Matt, get up there and you can sign it too, And my dad was always like, he equated your success musically with who you're playing with.
And he's the writer, so he wants to do his own stuff.
I want to do my own thing. So my dad and I always had this thing, and I knew my dad loved me, and I know he wanted what's best for me. Like with my son, I want him to do whatever he does and hopefully make enough money. And, you worry about your kids. But I remember that. So for me, that answer kind of goes back to that. I kind of like writing and producing and doing my own thing. So besides the Bryan Adams or bands like that.
Peter Gabriel. You always say, hey, put like a Peter Gabriel Red Rain on this song.
Yeah, but then again, I still say the people that you think that's going to be your lifelong dream, as soon as you put your headphones and you're playing the gig,
he could be a real jerk.
After a couple of weeks, you just kind of go, okay,
Well, the other thing too is that Matt is the writer. I don't write. So for me, it was always like, I want to play drums. I want to go on the road. And I'm always the networking kind of, go to Guitar Center and hang out and see who's looking for gigs. And I find out through the grapevine of grapevines on the phone while we're in Detroit that Rod Stewart's looking for a bass player. So I tell Matt and I tell my dad, and my dad's going, Matt, Rod Stewart, man. Rod Stewart's audition when you get back in January after New Year's. Rod Stewart, finally, Matt just snapped. He goes, I don't want to play with Rod Stewart.
I remember that, man. I remember that.
I want to have my own band.
Yeah, it's sad, but I mean, I love playing with Elton. I love playing with Rick. I love playing with Satriani and Dave and all these different bands.
But not that much.
But I don't know.
I want to get back on the road tomorrow. I think it's about a balance, and Matt, I know in his heart, I know he loves playing in front of people. Maybe the Redcoats might play in Italy a little bit later in a few months down the road. We've had some offers. We hope we go on the road and play because we love playing in front of people. I'm not married. Matt's got a wife at home. I'm not married. I have two amazing kids, and I miss the heck out of them when I'm gone. But I think if I find that balance of being like Ringo's, the perfect balance. He'll tour 10 weeks a year. I'm playing with my drum hero, the guy that made me want to be in a band and still be in a band. My favorite drummer and my great friend. And I just can't wait for the next Ringo tour. In fact, he called and said, Gregg, it's not canceled because of all this virus stuff. It's postponed to 2021. We were supposed to play for a week at the Beacon Theater. And so I think we're doing all that again in June, September, October, and I can't wait. And I'll bring my kids out on the road and we'll hang. I love being on the road, but I love being home with my kids too. I think it's a balance.
I think Gregg said it's balance. Balance in everything. Life, balance in everything. Because without that, balance and purpose, without those two things.
And Joe.
And Joe.
Puns.
And yeah, exactly.
So can we talk just a hair more about the Redcoats?
Well, you had another question.
Yeah, you had only 3 questions, you said.
This is her.
Well, you made me like hearing all this made me think of another thing which I wanted to ask. Then the Redcoats, and then I'll ask for your last words for the kids, if that's okay.
Come on.
Okay. So my first thing is, in getting to know a lot of session players over the years, I learned that, session players trade off gigs. Hey, I'm on the road. I can't do that one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've heard, for example, Victor and Drizzo, sometimes his gigs go to you. Sometimes his gigs, that kind of thing.
He's a great friend. I love Victor.
Victor's great. He's originally from Long Island, but doesn't like to talk about it.
Oh, no.
You like Victor more than Gregg?
Who do you like more, me or Victor?
I don't think Victor's ever going to speak it.
Ladies and gentlemen, envelopes.
Come on. You played on an Eat 'em and Smile.
I
You
knew
played
it.
on Skyscraper.
Never liked
And
it.
I mean, A Little Ain't Enough, which had the final tour of Dave 2021 at the end, which he's never addressed in there. Come on, you guys. Simple as that. Sorry,
That's my
Victor.
brother on bass on that album, by the way.
That's my brother.
Of course it is. Come on.
My brother's.
What do you think you're talking to?
I'm
The
a good-
co-host of the DLR
I can tell
cast.
it's to the Eskimos.
Okay, so
Well, I'm curious when you guys both realized that you weren't necessarily competing and there was enough work to go around for you guys and other great musicians.
Tim Pierce, a friend of ours, he actually played guitar on a great song called The Sun Man on the Submarine album that Matt wrote. And so Tim Pierce, when we were doing that recording, was that Cornerstone or something like that, at the studio in Chatsworth, California. I was talking to him because he was at the time, and probably still is, the most working guitar player in LA
Yes.
at this time. And before that, it was Steve Lukather, Mike Landau, who's the guy from Giant, the Dan Huff,
Oh, yeah.
and then Dean Parks, and Tommy Tedesco. Well, Tim Pierce works a lot, and his line stuck with me because I was talking about sessions, and he's saying, "Oh, Denny Fongheiser was on this session, and I did last week. Vinny Colaiuta was on the one I did yesterday, and a week ago, Kenny Aronoff." And I went, "Oh boy, I'm getting bummed. I wasn't on any of those sessions the last 2 weeks." And he said, "Wait." He goes, "I'm just happy." This is the best line. "I'm just happy to be one of the guys on some of those guys' lists." There's a lot of producers, a lot of labels, a lot of contractors. If you're one of the guys on some of those guys' lists, there's a lot of bass players, a lot of drummers, a lot of guitar players. So just be one of the guys on some of those guys' lists. And thank God we get to work a lot together. People request us, like Satriani. Steve Lukather talked to Satriani. He goes, "I'm looking for guys that play a lot together, like brothers." And he recommended 2 sets of brothers, Jody and Dean Cortez, and Matt and I. And of course, he chose Matt and I. No. I'm kidding. I love you, Jody and Dean. No, and so many great players. And there's no bad competition. We're all friends and, dear friends. And it's all peace and love, man.
Peace and love. No autographs, peace and love. So back to you guys. You said that there might be an Italy tour or something to that effect. And it's a great group that you got. It's, as you talked about, it's more than just an all-star band, a who's of session players. Do you know anything else that may be coming up in 2021?
Well, when I was over in Milan, we got asked to go to the Blue Note to see Peter Erskine's band play. And there's a friend of ours that I know over there in Italy who books all the bands and stuff. And I was kind of going, it was right when the first song was being written, the Messenger song. And I was going, this could be kind of cool to kind of come over and play for 2 weeks and play like 4 or 5 nights a week. And so I was kind of grilling them about the money and how it works and the travel and all that stuff. And when we got done with the record, I sent it to him, and he was real interested in booking the band. And after this COVID stuff, whatever happens with it, we're talking about going over in May and possibly July to do some festival stuff. For a band that's never physically been in the same room together, that's a pretty good start. So I'm just anxious to put this music on the road, because I can see like an hour-long show of just people just jamming their brains out and just having fun and responding. I mean, I'm amazed at the record, because we weren't in the same room together, that there's so much interplay between the musicians. Like Andy can, when he's one taking a solo, he's anticipating Gregg's drum fills before he's even heard it before. So that's when you can tell these guys are great musicians, that you just want to at least a couple times go on the road and see if it works. That's.
And the funny thing is, too, we're all working musicians. And so for us to go, like some of my friends, they have their jazz bands and they go on the road and they lose money because you got to get a van or a driver or sound guy, hotels. And what are the jazz clubs? I mean, we're not going to play the Greek Theater. We're combining Weather Report, the Beatles, the Mustard Seeds, Chick Corea, and we're doing all this different stuff.
That screams Greek Theater.
That screams Greek Theater. Meet me at the Greek. But I'm thinking, well, how could we go on the road and make a lot of money doing this? Well, guess what? I mean, I get to go all the time to Japan, You know how much it costs to go to the Billboard Live or to the Blue Note? It's like $300 for a 45-minute set, 2-drink minimum, and the band makes a boatload of money. When you play in Japan, the Japanese fans are fanatic for musicianship. You know, in America, it'd be a blast to tour here too, and I hope we do. But we all have mortgages and bills. You know, funny thing is, there can be, you know, COVID times. The funny thing is, Darren, the bills keep coming in the mailbox. So you got to work. And so I think Matt and all of us will find a way to do it, but to be able to do it in the right way that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, speaking of what you just said about Billboard Live, I had a friend that was in Brian Blade's band when I was in Japan one time, and she was there with Brian Blade, and seeing how well he did there, it kind of shows that musicianship still prevails in certain cities and countries more than others, where it doesn't matter about a hit. People just want to see 2 to 3 hours of people shredding, which you guys do tastefully.
And not even shredding, but I know, you know, even with Toto, they would play a club called the House of Blues, you know, a couple thousand people in Aurora, California. And then when I played with Toto, and even before Toto stopped playing, they'd sell out the Bercy in Paris, 30,000 people a night for 3 nights. And there's something about, you know, Europe, Japan, for some reason, that they really love American musicians. Bands like Toto, Steely Dan, and the Reddcoats.
It's the prophecy of Spinal Tap. It really is. It really is the last scene of Spinal Tap, right? The Japanese market's waiting for it.
That's right.
It's the same thing. I mean, there's always a market for anything, you know, if you just do some things right.
That's right.
And your bandmate Andy Timmons is actually a legit solo artist in Japan. You're not wrong about that one. So
that's one of the things in Italy too, is he was going to go over to Italy sometime around that time too. So we're all doing stuff. I mean, Matt, of course, whenever Elton says let's go, he's going to jump, and whenever Ringo says let's go, I'm going to jump. But you know, this is a super fun band, and I'm super proud to be in it. My brother's great songs, and letting us just do our own thing, you know.
Yeah, it's a good. I mean, if anything has come out of this, you know, I'm not going to be one of those guys that said, "Yeah, this situation's been really good for me," because I hate to hear when this thing hasn't really affected me, because it has affected everybody. But I can't say that. Kind of written a lot of music for, you know, other things too, and been busy doing that. And I feel like if anything, that we will, before things start going back to crazy time of being on the road, maybe we can throw some stuff in and get out on the road a little bit and just see what happens. At least have some fun. You know?
Have some fun.
Well, I want to see what happens, whatever happens with you guys. In the closer, any last words for the kids?
Brush your teeth.
Take your Flintstones, say your prayers, and the golden rule is not do unto others as they do unto you. It's do unto others the way, do underwear to others. Do unto others the way you wish they would do unto you. Like, just treat people great, you know. Try to be a light, you know. There's a lot of negativity and a lot of darkness, and kids that want to play music, man, I tell people all the time, half of the pie is how well you play and sing and write and everything else. The other half of the pie is, do people like hanging out with you? Are you fun? You make people laugh? I mean, we're making you laugh, and that's making my day. Ringo's out there playing, not because he needs the money, believe me. He's out there playing because he sees guys in Sgt. Pepper outfits and yellow submarines, and he's making people happy. And we love to make people happy, whether it's going in a recording session. We're both kind of people pleasers. We want them to be happy. That way they give us the check, and next time they hire us, they give us a check. We love making music. We're Detroit capitalists. But at the same time, we like making people say, hey, that was great. And people going, yeah. So that's a big part of it. The other half of the pie, how do you treat people? Are you someone that likes people? Because if you don't, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, and you can't fake that either. It's like I've been watching him. I always talk about, every time we do a session, by the time I get there and he's already got the drum sounds, they're all in love with him, because he just, you want me to just keep hitting it? You know, like some guys would just go, man, I've been hitting the same drum. Don't you have the sound already? He'll have his headphones on, like calling his son while he's doing the drum thing. He'll do whatever it takes to make the person that you're working for not sweat, you know, make it, it's going to be okay. You hired me for this amount of time. I'm going to give you my best. And that's kind of the Detroit thing too, is just, you just lay it out for somebody. Somebody wants you to play for them. It's up to you to just give them whatever they want, you know? Even if it's something that you don't want to play or whatever you think is like beneath you or whatever your thing is, just give the person what they want. You know, that's a Detroit thing.
That's a Detroit thing. And if people are going to pay for someone, our dad, or whoever it is now, to set up my drums, I hate setting up drums. I always pinch my fingers in the stands. For the last 40 years, I'm 61, since I was 21, 22. I haven't had to set up my drums. Even with Maynard, we had text. So I don't have to set up my drums. I go there, I hang out with my friends. We play music and we get paid. Why would you retire from that? That's when we were kids, we had our friends come over so we could, let's listen to this song by the Beatles or by the Guess Who, and let's try to play it. Well, that's what we're doing today, but we're getting paid to do it. So why would you retire?
Exactly. I got to send you that. I got to get your email address and send you the YouTube link for the last friend session, because we would just show up. Michael Skloff did all the music. He hardly ever would have a chart. He'd just kind of go, how about, because we would just play the trailers at the end. It'd be like, ba-da-bum-ba-ba-do-ba, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it was just a party. We'd just go there. It'd be 4 hours of just laughing, eating, and hanging out, and recording songs that to this day still pays a buttload of money.
Man, we have a union thing. One of the great things about the American Federation of Musicians, we have
802, is it?
What's that?
AFM 802?
No, we're 47 here, local 47.
Oh.
But we have this great thing called the Special Payments Fund, and it's for there's 2 checks that come every year. One for phonographs, records, and the second one is for TV film. And man, friends, 10 years. Our buddy Rocket Rashad, great guitar player that played on every show, he'll make people laugh. Believe me, he cracked us up. And hey, what was your check for? Was it this one? Yeah, can you believe this?
And he was making twice as much as he was doing doubles.
Is that right?
Right. We should call him.
Man.
Being called. Wow.
But that's the thing, man. It's for me, and I know for my brother, it's about purpose, and not to always talk about money, because that's it's an important thing to do and everything. But we've been so blessed our whole lives to love what we do. Going back to are you going to retire? We're never going to retire.
Never.
You're going to go as long as we can physically do this. You know?
I want to die on the drums.
Not today, though.
Not today.
But so in a way, you could say that's what success is doing what you love and dying doing it, whatever. So we're very, very fortunate guys.
I probably want to die getting a massage, like a hot coconut oil massage.
And then
from a woman, not anyway.
I'm not touching him again.
Well,
no more coconut.
I think what I've learned here is not only do you guys have an incredible band, which has great new music coming soon. You're not resting on your laurels. It's going to keep coming, and your attitude so many people can learn from. So thank you so much for not just the years of great music, but the excellent interview experience, and looking forward to seeing that Friends video.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
God bless you.
Have a great rest of the day, and we'll get this.
Paltrocast.